Cats are objectively better than dogs. And before anyone gets offended, relax. This is a totally non-biased review, explaining why I personally think cats are better than dogs, based purely on daily life and not emotional attachment. So here are some main points I gathered for this video. 1. Activity. Most dogs are very active, which sounds great in theory, until you realize that this means walking them 2 to 3 times a day. Every single day. Take Border Collie for example. I've seen this dog in real life and holy shit. During these walks, dogs obviously need to pee and poop. And who's the one that's gonna pick up the poop? Well, you are. This is a responsibility that I wouldn't really like doing. On top of that, dogs are expected to behave well in public, which becomes especially interesting the moment two dogs meet. If they know each other, that's fine, but most of the time they probably don't. So now you're standing there, gripping the leash and praying the situation goes by fast. And of course, sometimes dogs are on a leash, sometimes they're not, and everyone has a different opinion about when that's acceptable or if it's even acceptable that the dog is on a leash at all. Now, imagine there's gonna be winter or there's gonna be rain. If it rains, dogs get wet, and if there's mud, they'll probably find it. And then comes the part where you have to actually wash them. In summer, this is manageable, but in winter, it quickly turns into a very nightmare looking job probably. I don't know, because I've never owned a dog. Cats meanwhile just stay inside. Even outdoor cats, they clean themselves like very functional adults. If their paws are dirty, you wipe them with a towel, which takes about 2 minutes and your job here is done. Dogs also need walks in every single season, including winter, which means that when it's cold, dark and foggy outside, you're still leaving the house. But not because you have to or want to, but because you own a dog. With cats, this situation simply just doesn't exist. 2. Barking and meowing. Imagine someone invites you over to their place. You ring the doorbell, the door opens, and before you even say hello, the dog they have is already barking at you from every single direction because it's excited. That's usually the welcome sign from a dog, which obviously it's expected, but do you really wish for that? They bark when someone new arrives, they bark when they're happy, they bark when they see other dogs or cats. They bark for a reason they're probably very important to them. If they're sad, they don't stay quiet either. They whine. So in general, dogs are almost always making the noise. Now compare this to the cats. Cats are much more subtle. If you visit someone who owns a cat, there's a strong chance you won't see it at all, which depending on the situation can actually be a positive side, unless you actually want to see their cat. Then yeah. Point 3. Care, food and water. You see, dogs require a surprising amount of daily care. They need to be fed at least twice a day, they always have to have fresh water, and will position themselves directly next to you during meals, hoping for that meat or a sausage. Cats are very much easier to manage. Fresh water may need to be changed every couple of days, dry food works perfectly fine, and cats eat whenever they feel like it, without needing it to be scheduled. Some people argue that cats beg for food as well, but that's mostly a habit you teach them yourself. If you create a routine, the cats will follow it very enthusiastically. If you don't, the problem mostly solves itself. This is one part that is very important as well. Vacations. Vacations make this difference between cats and dogs even more obvious. With a dog, you immediately start planning logistics, where the dog will stay, who will take the care of it, or whether you're bringing it along, which can also cause problems. Dogs also tend to be sad when you're gone. With sad, they whine again, because they're emotionally invested in you, which is sweet, but not exactly convenient. Taking the dog with you also works for short trips, but the moment planes and layovers enter the conversation, it becomes a paperwork-heavy experience, a lot of bureaucracy, and no one really enjoys bureaucracy at all. On top of that, many landlords are still not thrilled about dogs in apartments. Cats on the other side can be left at home for a longer time. Like, you could almost even be gone for a week and cats wouldn't even notice it. Sure, you still have to give them food every couple of days, but you could just ask your neighbors for that. I mean, it's a 5-minute walk. If you have outdoor cats, this is even easier since they can get food for themselves with catching mice or birds. 4. Play. Dogs also just don't want only walks. They also want daily indoor play, which means throwing a ball back and forth even when you're tired and would prefer to exist peacefully on your couch. They also tend to lick your face, which some people love, and others simply tolerate in silence for hygiene reasons. AKA me. Cats, by comparison, don't require constant entertainment. Kittens are playful, but adult cats are perfectly fine sleeping most of the time, which people love to criticize. The question is always, what's the point of a cat if it just sleeps? The point is that cats provide quiet companionship. They give warmth, they don't sleep at all times, and they're social animals as well, you wouldn't believe, just not in an overwhelming way. If you own a cat, you've probably noticed that when you move to another room, the cat follows you anyway, casually reminding you that it does care, just not loudly like a dog. This is all my points that I've gathered. Cats are, for me, objectively better than dogs. They're quieter, cleaner, and far more independent, which makes them a lot easier to live with if you enjoy peace, sleep, and not planning your entire day around an animal. If you disagree, that's completely fine. You're allowed to have your opinion, even if it's wrong. Thanks for watching.